Welcome to the Krystal Effect. I'm your host, Krystal Appleby, and I'm here to share honest, wild truths I've learned through being a practitioner for myself and others on this crazy journey of life, career, and relating. I'm not crazier, braver, bolder, or more experienced than others. Rather, I do believe I'm here to share with a deeper level of honesty than most. It's just who I am. Superficiality and mediocrity are pure boredom here, and I do believe the deepest truths and depths of our soul will set us and others free. With an allergy to anything withheld in connection and conversation, we're going to dive right into any limits or lies we tell ourselves, pierced through the mediocrity or fears of diving deep into the truth. I hope to give you an opportunity to reactivate your knowing and zeal for living, rather than to be triggered, squander life and joy, and shrink away out of my energy field. But as always, choice is yours. Let's dive in. Welcome to today's episode of the Krystal Effect. I'm really excited for you to be connected and meet virtually this dear soul sister, Pam Dillon. Run and get yourself a session. If you are at a point in your healing where you've laid the foundation, you've done the deep diving, you've sat on the kitchen floor bawling, you've experienced all of it, and there's still just these little pieces in your life where you're getting held up, stuck on, or like ruminating in these patterns and relationships, whatever it is, Pam has this beautiful gift that she brings as a practitioner where she has all of these beautiful tools, and this is the essence of a great practitioner when they have taken all of their life experience, all the things they've gathered from other people, from living, from courses, from whatever, and created this beautiful melting pot that is their own practice. And this is something that I just think is of such high integrity and service to the world. And that's why I instantly connected even before I booked a session with Pam. But she brings this beautiful, unique frequency that is her, that can't be duplicated. But she brings this fun and play and, cuts through the seriousness that our healing journey has been for all of our life when we're ready to just do things quickly, simply, and easily. And yes, there can still be emotions. She took me through a beautiful session where I was connected with my father on the other side and finally had that kind of closure, connection happen after being to a gajillion practitioners. But within that, yes, there was emotion, and yet it was the simplest, easiest session I've ever done because there was no overcomplicating. It was just experiencing, tuning into the body. And she just has this laser sharp focus where she sees exactly where you need to go to and what needs to be done. So with that, I could go on and on and on. Enjoy today's episode. Pam, thank you so much for coming on my podcast and just for being such a beautiful light in the world. I'm so excited to see what you create in this next chapter of your life as you've given up regulation around massage therapy and really just started to own and trust this process of knowing that you're good at what you're good at, knowing that you're here doing what you're meant to be doing. And it's so obvious in your craft. And I'm so excited for more and more of the world to get to tune into that. And for you to just have more and more opportunities to bring more and more of that forward. And selfishly, I hope our paths cross so many times within career and outside. Enjoy today's episode. Thanks for joining. Welcome to the Krystal Effect. I'm so excited. Today I have my friend Pam Dillon on. Pam and I actually haven't met in person yet, but we met in a niching group with some amazing humans close to both of us. And immediately I felt this connection of like, I don't know what this woman does, but I need to find out and I need to be in her world. So Pam does BodyTalk is like, I guess the BodyTalk and quantum healing would be like the short of it, but her sessions are just like some whirlwind experience, power hour that you just need to experience to know. Like there's no justification. There's no way to put it into words. I don't think. Maybe you'll do a better job of this for me later, but I'm so excited to dive into a conversation today. I'm sure we'll just touch on many things as 262s having conversation, but Pam shares a interesting vantage point that I think a lot of people have gone through or are considering going through of leaving, whether it's your 9 to 5, but in her situation, the regulated profession of massage therapy and going into practice as solely just like standing on your own in your modalities in what you've created that's uniquely you without having that like stability is how I feel it is like that comfort of knowing that people can bill their insurance for your services. And it seems so little, but I know in my experience and watching practitioners in my space go through this, it's such an interesting mindfuck when people, whether it's like in our head or not, that we know that there's the potential that they could be receiving your services for not having to pay out of pocket, to then knowing that there's not even that option. So we're going to dive into all the things. I'm just going to let Pam introduce herself and then we'll go from there.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Krystal. Thanks for having me on your podcast. This is so exciting. I get so lit up. Like, I'm a projector by human design. So any invitation that lights me up, like, oh, yeah, yes, I'll be on your podcast. This is a hell yes for me.
Me too.
Patiently waiting for those invitations. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this is a juicy one. It's going to be great. So I was super honored to have that invitation and so grateful to be here with you today. Yeah, I'm Pam. I've been a practitioner for a very long time, like about 20 years or just over. Most of my life, actually, over half my life. And I was 17 when I started my training in massage therapy. 17 and I'm 40 now. So that's 23 years, over half my life of just even in like the training of it, the mindset of it, the understanding of what a regulator profession should look like or be like and the security of that. So even at 17, like what is it? Your frontal lobe doesn't even fully develop till at 25.
Whoa, really? Is that why we're such fucking idiots?
Literally. So it's like that whole time, like, what is it? Then 8 years of like just my like little child brain being fully developed in the idea of being a registered massage therapist. And that was like so part of my identity because I was so young when I decided that was going to be my identity so deeply. So yeah, anyways, I've been doing massage therapy for a long time. And as Krystal has mentioned already, I did leave that registration just over 5 months ago. And also BodyTalk practitioner, quantum healer, and I've been doing BodyTalk for 10 years now. And so it did take some time to fully transition. It wasn't just like, cool, I did BodyTalk last year and I'm already transitioning into full-time BodyTalk. It was a process for sure.
Yeah.
But I did to be here and doing this process, even though it's hard.
Totally. I think that's really important to note because even in my like marketing and stuff, sometimes when we're on the other side, we talk about it like it's easy, just do it, take the leap, do the thing, right? But even for myself, it's like this. I mean, you've witnessed the last few months too of me being like, I'm leaving my practice, I'm doing this. But then it's like, actually, I'm going to go back one more time. I'm going to do this. And like, that's all part of the process, I think. Yeah. I think there's very few people and like few designs that don't grip and can just like rip that off. But also note, like, is it always of service to just rip the Band-Aid off and make yourself like start with, I don't want to say without a foundation because it does come, but some of us, and I know like my 1-3 in the past, the one line like needed that security to know that there was still stability in my income, still these things before just like cold cutting that off.
Oh yeah, it's such a leap of faith. And so there is so many steps. I almost imagine it like birthing a baby, all the crowning that has to happen. It's like in and out, in and out. You don't just like rip through them. There's gonna be some major tears for that poor woman if there is no actual crowning process. Like there is a natural process, even in the birth, that takes time to stretch before you're fully out.
That's so true. Cause you think about like people who have cold inductions and like sometimes they go great, but you know, typically when it's like there hasn't been a process, I've seen it with women where like the difference between women who come in for like 8 weeks before giving birth and have acupuncture and then have the doula and these like, you know, tools, whether it's hypno or whatever they've done to work up and like allow the body to start to like soften. And then there's the people that you hear about their stories and they're like, that was horrible. That was traumatizing. That was whatever. It's usually like a cold induction or just like abrupt medical intervention. These things where it is that like, it's like you said, it's like, I love that analogy.
It's so good. And even in the aspect of anything that you're going to birth into, there's a death of something, of course. So if you look at the death analogy too, if you think about sudden deaths with people, there's more trauma. There's spiritually a little bit more attached to the world. You have to do a little more clearing for those people.
Yeah.
Whereas like a death that you were like ready for and it was slow and you're in it and you're like, yeah, cool, I'm ready to go. Way less drama. spiritually with that kind of death and then the birth. So it's like, why can't, like, in that aspect also for business or life, how would you want to die? How would you want to be born?
Ugh, I love that. I always
Mhm.
am trying to like, I tried to have this conversation with my brother the other day on the way home from the airport. And like, I was like, why? Like, not happening. But it's so true. It reminds me of, last week with my dog being sick. And,
Yeah.
I'm sitting there and just like doing all the energy work and like, you have to detach, you must go. And her system's just like fried and wired because she's not
Yeah.
ready. Right.
Yeah. She's
It's
got
like,
everyone
oh,
side and wired.
yeah. And then it's like, oh, right, let's like soften and give space for this being to have their own fucking experience. And I think that happens in the human world too. Families are so tired of watching suffering and da da da. And I know when my
Mhm.
friend, she passed in October, and I just knew I had like not dabbled in the mediumship world for a long time. But when she passed, it was just like, I need to go tune in. She needs
Mm.
support. And immediately when I tuned into her energy, it was like so stuck
Mm.
and like scared to move on, right? Like she had 3 kids, but also she was very religious, but not like in a I needed religion because I'm dying and I'm terrified of what
Ah,
happens,
yeah. So the
It's like
fear versus like actual faith, even.
witnessing the soul, like she thought she had messed up. Like, what happened? I'm still like stuck in this limbo. I can't let go. What's on the other side? Like, not having the faith. Total side tangent, as I
Was
figured.
her death pretty quick? No, she was sick.
Yeah, she was sick for a long time, but she was in, I don't want to call it denial. She had 3 kids. She didn't want to leave. She
Bullshit.
was like so dead set, and she needed to be for her own sake that she was going to get a miracle. Like I laid in bed with her, or she went home for a day, like a week before she passed. And she was like calling people in Africa, finding these healers that were like telling her that her soul wasn't like, that her body wasn't sick. And like, she was like, the strongest. It reminds me of Reese. Like, oh no, I ain't just like going out here because all y'all are uncomfortable with what's happening, you know? Um,
Totally. Wow.
but yeah, total side note, but
No, it's great. I mean, it totally, it's not really on that side also because it's like, again, there's really no difference between these bigger bursts and deaths and like these small ones or these big ones, whatever the ones we have in life, right? So when we
totally.
contemplate life in that way and death in that way and birth in that way, then we can go, where is our own relationship with the fears or the acceptance of these parts of life? And then how do I apply that same, that's not going to be, that's going to be exactly how I do life. If I have a death fear or this fear, why would it be different if you're trying to end a career and start a new one? Like you're going to use that same belief system in this type of life transition than you would in like an actual like body transition.
Yeah, bingo.
Mhm.
Yes, this is what I always try to drive home, that life is just like, I love using tarot cards and like for the reason that it's a life cycle. Like you look at the major arcana and it's like zero, you're the fool, then you reach the world, but then it's like you got to go over again. And like that whole process is just a process of life. Like, where are we at in it? When I first started pulling cards, it was like the death card. Oh my goodness, what's happening? Who's dying around me? Like
Right.
panic, panic, panic.
So
And
literal.
now, yeah, like last week I pulled it and it's like my dog is sick and she is dying. And I still was like, oh, interesting. Like, what am I letting go of in my life? What am I like? You can totally desensitize yourself knowing that this is all just a part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, yeah, all of these processes are happening our entire lifetime. And when
Mm-hmm.
I witnessed my friend, that was the most beautiful part. Like, I would watch her like grip and panic and then get angry. And I'm like, she's not an angry person. What's happening? It's like, oh, this is all of the natural process of life. It's just like we're doing it thousands of times over so
Every
that we
day.
can prepare to do it correctly and like peacefully and easefully for the final time.
Literally. Even like what is this savasana, the corpse pose in yoga?
Yeah.
It's literally the practice of dying.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably why I always hated it when I was younger.
Literally called corpse pose.
Yeah, that's so interesting. My intro to yoga was in engineering school. One of my classmates was like, hey, let's sign up for this thing. She was older than me and I would go, but I would be like, this is such a waste of my time. I would just leave. I'd be like, I don't want to do Savasana. This is such a waste of time. I could get to class on time. And I look back and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Oh man, that 2 minutes at the end of class is the best part.
Totally. Now it's my favorite. I could just lay there for the whole time
I'll
in
just be dead
that.
forever. Thanks, bye. Do you want to initiate? No, no, no. That's good. It's good.
We're not initiators.
No, no. I'd rather do the death than the birth part. The birth is harder for sure.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. That's so true. So I guess with that,
Yeah.
what's your process been like of like birthing this new, I don't want to say identity, but kind of like standing on your own without that?
Oh
And
man.
even the process of like finally letting it go.
Man, it's so interesting because maybe I'll start with like the journey of becoming an RMT. Like that was not something I just decided because I was like, oh, that'd be a good job. It's gonna pay well and it's makes sense on paper. It wasn't that at all. It was very much a guided, hell yes, kind of intuitive download to go into that career. And so it was, yeah, and it was, I was in grade 12 actually still when I realized that I was gonna register for school. Like I hadn't even graduated high school yet. But I still massage. Like my hands were always busy. I massaged since a kid. Like I would massage my family. I
Oh.
would massage my friends in school. And I was a theater nerd in school. And I was like, I had a production. That's just a school production. And there was like this classmate. And every time before we went on stage, I would just honestly give him a scalp massage. And theater kids are funny. So if you do it once and the show went well, you have to do it again every night because now it's like, superstitious, right? And so he's like, oh, I got to get my scalp massage because we got to have a good show. And then, I don't know, a week later, he's like, man, you're just really good at this. And true projector form, I didn't even know I was a projector back then. It was the invitation because I had done this for my whole life already. But he said, you should be a massage therapist. And I was like, everything in my body just almost like lit. But I was like, yes, this makes so much sense. I didn't know what I was going to be. I knew like biology, and that was pretty much it. I was going to go into the sciences. And I was so lit up by this. And I was like, absolutely. I think that same week, I got the information, registered, and that was it. And I never looked back. I remember thinking, even in school, like there was nothing else I'd really want to do other than work with people this way. I always knew though that I did want to do something energetic with it. I knew that there was a missing piece in like the education of like the licensing program of the registered massage therapy that we have in British Columbia. And I knew that there was going to be something deeper. And I was looking forward to like adding that to my profession when something came through. And it took like true to 7-year cycles. It took a whole 7-year cycle of being actually registered before BodyTalk came into my life. And that was, about 10 years ago, just over 10 years ago. And I found BodyTalk first as a client. And then I was like, whoa, this stuff is exactly what I've been looking for, the missing piece of the consciousness of the body. And I dove in so deep into all the modules and loved every minute of it. Completely changed my life, the way I live my own life also, and the way I see the world and see people and see relationships and see the physical body. So much of it was for me an avenue. I thought it was going to be like an emotional support for me for Body Talk sessions, but it ended up being something that I found myself in it. Like I found my authenticity, I found my heart, I found my actual identity. But it was so vulnerable, such a vulnerable place, because to be a BodyTalk practitioner and like to really allow my heart to be open that way, I kind of was scared to offer it professionally for a long time.
I felt that in hypno. Like I couldn't, like people would cry, I would cry. Like it was just so much on my being that I was like, this
It
isn't what I'm supposed to do because it was so hard.
was so much hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like when I would remember the first few years, I would only do it like just for friends or family or like do trays and kind of dabble in it kind of privately and personally, kind of behind closed doors, not really talk about it. And then finally it was like, this is like, enough is enough, Pam. You have to start to offer this in the clinic. You can't just hide behind this, right? Or kind of dabble a little bit here and there.
Mhm.
And so I would see clients who maybe would have these issues that I could just feel energetically that it was deeper than like a shoulder strain. Like it was emotional. It was a heart protector energy. It was like this thing. And I'm like, hey, I'm doing this new thing. It's called Body Talk. And, how about, we book in for one of those? We'll give it a go. And a lot of people at that time were kind of like, what are you talking about? Like, why would I try this thing sounds kind of weird? And like, you want me to come at a different time and pay for this service out of my pocket, where I can see you every week. I see you every week, and I get paid for me by insurance.
And there's also this aspect, I think, with massage, with like, I did the same thing with acupuncture and I saw the same thing when there's a physical thing happening and like, I have a pain and maybe I'm out of touch with what that pain's connected to.
Yes.
But you're like pressing on it and you're like kneading it and you're like taking care of it.
Yeah.
There's like such an association with the brain that like that makes sense.
Yes.
But now you want to muscle test me. You want to like tune into my body and
barely touch me at all.
Yeah. And you're going to shift that through some like trauma.
Talk to my mind and change my physical body.
Yeah. Totally. It's such an interesting, and I think we have to let go of our own insecurity around it before our clients even like buy into it with any sort of certainty.
Oh, 100%. And like I said before, like I was in the physical realm when I was 17, like my brain was being developed around the physicality of a massage therapist. So as much as everything is a mirror to yourself. So as I was watching these clients going, why would I do that? Like I'm literally getting this for free and it's working for me. I don't mind coming to see you every week to get some pain relief. I'll come in next week to get the pain relief again.
Totally. Fine. Even if it only lasts 2 days. That's amazing.
That's totally fine. I get to see you regularly. It doesn't matter. Like you're a great Band-Aid. And then I'm like, in my own world, I'm like, I don't want to be a Band-Aid. I don't want to be a Band-Aid. And when the person that's holding the wound and you're the Band-Aid, they don't really care because it's not like they're not thinking about your passion, your satisfaction as a practitioner, or like the fact that you're being a Band-Aid for 8 people every day and you really want to have like a deeper sense of change for somebody for your own desires of life. So like, I don't care. This is working for me.
Totally. But I don't even think I knew it at the time when I was in that role, but you're holding yourself, somebody somewhere else in your world, you're Band-Aiding your own life as long as you're doing that. And it's like, oh, I'm still just like, yeah. It's like, oh, wait, my soul actually wanted fucking freedom and it found this physical avenue to be like, Krystal, let's do this, or let's do hypno, or, different work. But it is that piece of like, it gets really hard the more awake and aware we become to go into a session and just be the Band-Aid. Even if it's like comfortable and easy, like to go throw in needles for 5 minutes, not hard for me. Yeah. Very easy. Really wish I could, like, my brain is like, you make good money, you this, you that. What's your fucking deal?
Yes.
But the soul is just like, I am playing so fucking small on my purpose. And as a result, everybody who's coming into my space, because they have the opportunity to also come where I'm going.
Yes. And not to say that massage therapy or acupuncture are small modalities.
No, not at all.
Right. And there's like in that place of like, where depending on who you are as a practitioner, what your passions or your goals are, there's so much of that is so deeply satisfying. Like that is everything. And it lights you up in such a big way. But that wasn't my story anymore. And it was surprising too, because it was such a hell yes at 17. And so I was thinking, why would I always had this idea of really combining them both, but you can't really combine them both because there's so many rules with like in a registered profession where they don't let you combine them both. You have to be this like boxed in version. You're like, wait, but I'm learning all these things in my tool belt, but this regulated profession won't actually allow me to use all the tools. That was what was the biggest challenge for me.
Totally. I'm curious because I've heard this many times from practitioners, from my naturopath friends, and I think theirs is even stricter. But I'm just always of the like mentality that I'm like, I don't fucking care. Like, who's going to come find me? I shouldn't be saying this on the podcast.
Shh, don't jump.
I'm like, I have this little guide that hangs out by me. And I always ask her, she's like this cheeky little bitch. And I'm like, can I get away with this? Yeah. Okay, let's go.
Literally.
But I'm curious. Yeah. I'm always curious with that, like, fear that we have around that, like, someone's going to come and like, take it from us.
I have like a deep fear of getting in trouble.
Yeah.
Always. And it's like, and so as if in the past, I just ended my license 5 months ago, as if I didn't cross the boundaries in the past 10 years.
Right.
Of course I did.
Yeah. Of course it's something that our mind needs to be like, oh, I can't keep breaking rules. I got to get out of this for our soul to be like.
Every time I did it, I was stressed out about it.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know what it was. I was just like, man, if I keep like, there was something about it, was just uncomfortable for me. And I think I started to get navigated into place. Like my purpose and my human design, sorry, my gene keys is the gift of integrity.
Right. Yeah.
And so I'm like, gross.
I know.
And then, so then what was more the fact that like, depending on like how would I determine or discern which clients I would cross the line with and which ones I wouldn't?
Yeah, for sure. You just
Or
start
like,
to kind of like,
now that I know this client enough, now I'll do that for you, but I won't if you're new. But that maybe that's what you're expecting because that's what you heard, but I can't do it because I don't know if I trust you yet.
that's true. You lose your clarity and like potency because now you're spending more time thinking about that than thinking
Literally.
about, you know, the craft that you're actually here to do.
And that's probably one of the big reasons why I decided to when I heard that like it's time now to drop the license, because I started to get so confused on the blurriness of it all. Like who to be blurry with, who not to be blurry with, where to say no, where to say yes. Is this covered? No, it's not covered. Sure. Like it was starting to get so confusing. Now that I'll say this publicly now because I'm not registered anymore. So who cares? Right? But I was like, this is too much for my own mental health of navigating like the line of this. And I just rather just be in my integrity, just be able to say to everybody, you know what? I'm just taking away the candy, basically. Y'all want to play funny. I don't know who to say yes to, who to say no to, who to give it to. So I'm just taking it away. I'm taking away the insurance. Nobody gets to play with it.
Which is so funny anyways, because you know they're going to go like everybody, well, not everybody, but it's like they can utilize that and they pay for it anyways. Like it's not like they're not paying for their insurance.
This is the thing. Well, totally. But it's funny because even in the past 5 months, my client base has totally changed.
Yeah, but I'm curious, but I already know the answer that it's like for so much of the better.
Right. But I'm having to get used to like now what I'm working on in the past 5 months is my own value, because I didn't realize how deeply ingrained my brain was on it's like not feeling guilty, I'll say, taking clients' money when I know it comes from insurance base. I'm like, oh, good, they're not paying for it. This is great. I don't like.
Oh,
I'm actually discovering how uncomfortable I am like
taking
actually money that's not coming literally from their bank accounts.
That's so interesting.
That's the conditioning. That's like the practitioner's conditioning of the box we're put in as registered therapists. And this was a big thing. When you leave a license, we don't have to realize how much program we have on how dependent we are as practitioners, and the safety of understanding that the insurance is paying for the service, and we're not putting our clients out, quote unquote.
That's so interesting, because this is why I love the work I do, because it's all around this. I'm always like, it's not that I'm obsessed with money, but I'm obsessed with how money amplifies all of our shit. So when clients come to me and I watch my practitioners come into my space, and I never had a full-time receptionist because I was like, what, for like a 16-year-old who is not invested in my business, who might steal from me, who like, you know, just like questionable, all the things possibly. So that was always on the girls. I paid them a little extra. They had to take care of their payments. And I saw how much it brought up for them as new practitioners to have that exchange. And I was always like, oh no, like this is such a big initiation for you. You like, the sooner you deal with this, the sooner you can receive clients. And, you know, like it's such a magnet, because there's such a huge thing around money for most people. And I'm just like, listening to you, I'm like, that's so interesting, because I love money. So I'm like, I'm good at what I do. Of course you're going to pay me. Like this is the price.
I've always like 20 years in this type of profession. I've always had reception.
Really?
Always. Because of this, because I was so deeply uncomfortable doing the exchange.
That you would rather pay a substantial amount of money to someone else.
Well, I was always a subcontractor in a clinic.
If you're working somewhere else, I get it.
So, but I would choose clinics with that. I would be like, no, I like that buffer. And so, I still have reception today. So I'm getting there. So this is my part of my practice now. And the birthing of this new part of my career is actually what I'm working on now, is honestly being comfortable with my value.
Yeah. That's what I love about being a practitioner. It will teach you everything you need in life, really. Like it will teach you all these places. And that's why I love working with practitioners. It's just such a beautiful way to learn all the pieces of the puzzle in our life, where we're playing small, where different things are happening. because people don't realize we get into a profession because something pulls us, hopefully. Like you said, it's like I was pulled towards this. I knew I needed to do it. It was a big yes. And we're like, oh, I get to do this craft. But it's like, then you get into practice and you're like, oh, my self-worth. Like I have to really own if somebody doesn't come back to me or all these different things happen, that it's not about me. And even if it is, it's like, that's okay too. So there's so much self-worth built through becoming a practitioner. And like you, my first job, I had reception. I love that because I would have given people deals. I would have given people shit for free. If I wouldn't have had that, it's like, oh my goodness, don't get me as far away from the money piece as possible. But when I went on my own, it was like, I just wouldn't, then I would like grew a little and was like, I wouldn't tell them how much it was. I'd just pass them the machine or like, do you want me to throw that on the card on file? And I watch all of this happen with my practitioners now. And I just think it's like, it's such a funny process that we have to grow through. But that's why it's like, man, to become a really great practitioner, you have to step into and through all of it. And it's like such an initiation for your life. And I believe that that is why we get called into the healing field. So Pam and I had a snag in technology and it cut out a piece of our podcast right here. So we're just going to interlude from here into the next segment where we start talking about, you know, this is the initiation. This is why we become, you can call it healers, practitioners, whatever you want to call it. There's something deep in us, I believe, that is calling us to do the deeper work than most people are willing to do so that others out there, this network that we're tying into, can have access to the tools required to awaken. And that doesn't mean awaken in some fluffy way or it has to be in the energetics or whatever, but you know those people that you walk into a room with and they shift something in you. They activate. I see it as that catalyst. You come into contact and they just drop the catalyst and sometimes walk away, sometimes stick around for a chapter, sometimes stick around for a lifetime. But the point is that we get access to the catalyst. So ignore this awkward little trip in the matrix where we segment back into the next piece. Yeah. So we were talking about the healers seek it because they need healing, which is like, oh my God, yes. But then I'm also curious, like, what about all those people that we're like treating and out there in the world? I guess they just need us to be healed.
Yeah.
It's like, you're welcome.
You are welcome. I did this all for you. And for me, I don't even know anymore. It's just a full freaking loop. I'm like, did I just create everything in my entire career? Every patient I've ever had, it's all literally for me the entire time. Yes.
Yeah. Right. And then the 6-2, isn't it? Is it the 6-2 that it's like, we're just we're doing it all to like gather for other people's, to give them the wisdom?
Literally.
Yeah.
Just sit on the roof, gather the wisdom and let you know, and then be the role model. And it's all for you. You're welcome.
I feel like I'm pretty good at
Krystal and I are like literally just so dedicated to humanity.
That's why we should have no problem accepting their money anymore.
That is, you know what? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And it is so true because I think my entire life, like I don't have kids. I don't have a partner. And I'm like, my entire life literally is, I think, like based around my job and my career and actually my work and that place of helping people. I'm like, yeah, if I'm dedicating my entire existence to this, I better get paid for it.
Isn't it wild? Like I do think about that often, about like, even if somebody comes into mentorship with me, the accessibility that they're getting is so different than, I'm not saying that there's not coaches out there, mentors that do a great job with children and all the things. I've hired them. They're great. But I like give my people so much because of my like spaciousness in my life.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, this is what lights me up. Of course I'm going to like not over deliver, but over deliver and like give you everything I've got for you to succeed.
Yeah. Like, why not? I'm not worried about, taking care of little tiny mouths to feed them.
Yeah.
We'll do the other energy somewhere else of a different type of mothering,
It's true. It is. It's like, yeah, I always ask my friend, I'm like, you're such a good mom. I'm surprised you don't want kids. And she's like, yeah, because I'm so exhausted from mothering. And I'm like, yeah, I get that now.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. It's been a journey for sure. And it's like, it's been like, even the transition. It's not that it's like I think people might have this conception of like, oh, cool, when you've done this work and you've had this other backup job for 10 years, that transition must be really easy. And this is really graceful things. We don't really go through like any kind of like stress or fear or whatever. And it's such the opposite. There's such moments of like gratitude that I've done this. Like it's so aligned. I know that this is my right timing. And at the same simultaneously, so much fear of like deeply leaving a life that was secure but because it was predictable.
Yeah. It's that piece. I always say, so like if you have a practitioner that does massage and cranio or whatever that combination is, and then you have a practitioner that just goes and does like cranio, Reiki, BodyTalk, whatever it is, it may be harder to like build in the beginning, which is actually just a belief that we create because we whatever. But there's not all that neural pathway training. Like for me, it's just so ingrained in me. It's like that you said, it's like it's comfortable, it's predictable. I've built a clientele. These clients aren't going to come with me into this modality. They know me as this person. I took sports medicine. I did this. How do there's like so many storylines. Whereas if we go take a practice just like solo, I think that's just it. Right. And then it's like, but then that will always have its own piece around it. But I think that's part of the education system too. It's like so ingrained if you go take something that's regulated or this or that, then it'll be easier to create success. It'll be like, it's more recognized, it's more reputable, it's blah, 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 blah. Well, I know a lot of like interesting acupuncturists that I wouldn't call reputable or good at what they do,
Literally. And it's so funny because even at the beginning of my career, I think as an RMT, I used to like think about the non-regulated, practitioners out there. I'm like, oh my gosh, how could they do that? This is so unethical. And they're just, and it's so funny. But then seeing it now from my perspective into my maturity now and a deeper understanding. And I was like, whoa, those people are like getting to do whatever their magic actually is, whatever their niche actually is. They're not being bound by any kind of authority saying you're not allowed to be your authentic expression. You have to be, this is the scope of practice that you have. This is the rules you have to abide by. And then if you have anything other than that, that's beyond the scope, then too bad. And it was like finally to the place of like, oh no, this is actually really liberating and how much more magic I can bring into sessions now because I'm my own authority is so freaking amazing. So as much as like, I was like losing the sense of security of this perceived future that felt really predictable that we think we all need, but our future is never really all predictable anyways. Like there's nothing we just perceive our security. It's totally a perception or an illusion. And when you think about coming into something like this, where there's no authority other than myself, I'm getting to use all the magic I have in my system, all the tools on my tool belt. And now even coming to a place where I do want to get more into mentorships and into containers and into like full immersion with the client versus just like one-off sessions here and there. And then even when you do that, you're even less attached to like, I need to be in a clinic still. Like I'm still in the mindset of like, I need to be in a clinic and I need to do these one-on-ones. But I'm like, whoa, as I start to move even deeper into this next transition and working with like container clients, all these different things, there's so much even more freedom because I'm not being bound by a clinic. I actually don't need reception for container clients at all. It's not these transaction. It could be, I could be traveling and still have a container client because you can be chatting on Zoom, like for your check-ins and of course on just text and voice memos. And so I'm like, whoa, there's so much more independence that I'm getting that I'm trying to like really learn how do I cultivate and create a life where I'm not dependent on any person or any external anything. Not that I don't love working in clinics in the atmosphere, but I don't want to be dependent on anything. I want to be able to know that I have everything within myself, that I am my own modality. I don't need anything other than my own consciousness for my work. I can do it from anywhere because it's quantum healing. Space-time doesn't exist. So I'm like, if I'm working in a quantum energy medicine, why would I box myself into I have to be in this physical place? Why have I limited how I, that I'm still in this mindset? It has to be in this clinical aspect. I have to have a receptionist. I have to blah, 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 blah. So that's what I'm working through now is going, wait, how much more free and liberated and expanded can I actually get?
Yeah, which is such a beautiful journey. And I feel like on a similar path with that And as you were speaking, I just saw like, yeah, but there's also like when we had the clinic and, like I sit here and I'm like, why did I hold on to this for so long? Why am I still gripping to this? And then I see like the clinic and all that as the walls fall away. We also still have that foundation. Like that's been such a part of our foundation of building that to get to a point where, we feel really certain and in integrity to go and serve in that way.
I love that. I love how you said when the walls fall apart, fall away, you still have that foundation.
Yeah.
I love
Because
that.
there is the online space, like there is this also, I've been sitting with it for like the last year of like, where's my foundation? Where is it? Where is it? Like, it doesn't feel quite ready. Nothing like, it's not quite like, ugh, like, when you feel in your practice, like there's stability, it's like maybe it's not a false sense of security, but it's like, okay, this I can go and create anywhere. I know that, like, I know I'm good at what I'm good at.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you go into this other space where it's more like virtual,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, how do I still step into my worth on a new level that I'm worth now more by like being less physically present in a space where people can come visit me? But I think as we take those walls down, the client on the other side, the ones that get to come into our world, I know for me, it's such an honor to witness the next level of healing that they get access to. And it's not that those things can't happen in one-off sessions with acupuncture, with BodyTalk. They can. And when you have like continuity, like even the other day after our session, and I just voice memoed you because I was like, oh my God. And then that dialogue, you start to see like, oh, if this was happening all the time, what kind of container does that create? It's like, I'm now invested in your vision with you. You're invested in my vision with me when you take people like me into your world, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I think in the online space, a lot of us see it. I know when I first entered is like, oh, they want $10,000 for this container. They want this. They want like, who are these people? And what do they, like I really struggled to buy into the value of it because I was still in my clinic and still in my, like, this is how it has to be. This is what's integrity for me. But I was going somewhere with that. Now it's like gone in the ethers.
Well, I mean, in the aspect too, because even we're all, I think humanity, or I know I was really conditioned in my job to like think like hourly value and that kind of thing. Okay, this is my value. I have to give this amount of time to get the value.
Totally.
And it's done by like our time exchange.
Yeah.
And then we're all evolving again to this place where we're understanding time is honestly, it's like such an illusion. We know time is relative. We know this. We know that it doesn't exist in like the places beyond the 3D realm. And if we're working beyond the 3D realm, why the heck would I be just going, okay, this is my time and it equals this much value? When I just finished a 5-month container with someone, and what we were able to do in 5 months was like 1,000 times more than I did with her in the 2 years of weekly one-on-one sessions without being in a container of like daily check-ins. It's
totally.
Like, so where is the value here? Like she got so much more value in 5 months than she did in 2 years.
Yeah.
And so of course, like where do we actually as like in society start to sink into our root chakra a little bit more and go, wait, how we be conditioned to think this way? Because if you think about like society and if they want us to think just hourly wage, this is what you're worth, then that's a really controlled society, I think. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Where everybody's like, this is my hourly wage. This is what I get. I got to put 8 hours in. This is my 9 to 5. And versus if we allowed ourselves to expand into a place of like our actual innate value, that's going to do with time in that sense, where could people actually go with that for their own growth and this own understanding of actual energy exchange? I think everybody could be so liberated when we come out of the construct of time.
Yeah. And it doesn't just go for the people receiving money that isn't attached to time. It goes for both ends because it's like there's something that happens when we free ourselves from that piece of like how I show up when I know I'm getting paid per hour. Like, I'll bop in between 2 rooms, put needles in, and then I can do a little work on the side, as compared to like, okay, I'm getting this money here, but here's like the not expectation, but like here's this sacred thing that we're creating together.
Yeah.
It's like I show up for it in a very different way, even as a practitioner, of what I'm going to bring to the table than when I'm doing acupuncture. So I'm going to be totally frank.
So potent, like it really just is.
yeah, it's like when I go into like send voice notes or whatever, like I am a clear channel. I'm going in when I'm sitting in nature, when I have time and space to like just be a channel for that person and see into their vision and buy into it and see where they're blocking themselves, see where they're like, yeah, more of this, more of this, more of this. You can't do that in, you know, an hour session.
No.
I mean, you can do pieces of it, but it's like there's not the continuity of like, really. I think the good practitioners, coaches, mentors out there are buying into your vision with you and walking the path with you forward and making sure that we're going forward. And then every time that, you know, if you need to stop and integrate, if you need to stop and do this, we're stopping and doing that with you and bringing our tools. Like you get access to our whole fucking buckets.
Whenever you need it. It's
Yeah,
like so
whenever.
cool when you like, depending on even having, like even the idea of being a band-aid, which I really was so bothered by in my career. Like I hate being a band-aid. And even if you think about like, if you have a one-on-one session with somebody for an hour and then you give them some tools and they leave and then they don't know fully how to apply them like at a coaching standpoint. So they come to a sticky point in life, don't know how to navigate a conversation or a situation. They're kind of lost in it by themselves. You bring it back to you in the next session, but you can't, like how many things can you cover in 1 hour if you haven't seen them in like a month maybe or in a couple weeks? And so
Yeah.
then there's this a really cool like thing where they're like, hey, I'm about to have this conversation with a person and I just need a little bit of help here. I'm feeling a little emotional with this. Can you coach me through it? So you're coaching somebody like day to day in their triggers versus just like trying to take the bucket of water out of, you know what I mean? You're trying to like bail them out one bucket at a time when they come see you versus constantly moving the water with them every day. It's just a very different approach,
it's so
I think,
different.
to like healthcare.
It's so
Like,
fun.
yeah.
Like to me, it's like it's just so fucking fun. And when I feel like things are so fun and easy, I'm like, oh, this is the way. I think a lot of us think like, I'm getting paid for this. This can't be. This is like, maybe I'm out of integrity. But I'm like, the Leo is like, oh no. Like when we're having fun and playing, that's when the magic is happening. That's when things are, you know, incorrectness. Because when people come back, it's like they might email me in between sessions or even like a weekly call. They might, you know, okay, let's bring this to the table. Well, that's not present in your field anymore, or like not in the same way as when, you know, like so much moves when we're constantly moving with it. And that's why I always tell my clients, it's like when something comes up in your field or your life, or you're working on something, I don't care if you're like creating a logo in Canva and you're irritated and something's stuck, send me a message because we can like shift and expand you out of that so quick. We don't have to do a whole hypno session. We just like speak to it and it's done, you know?
Yeah.
For
Oh,
me,
it's
that's the
so
magic.
brilliant. Man, it's so are you ready? Like, where are you then for this whole kind of transition? Just spin this on you.
It's a great question. I'm supposed to go back next Monday and I have to make a decision in like the next couple days here.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but I'm definitely ready. You know what I'm ready for? And this is actually something I wrote down to ask you too, is like, I'm ready to support practitioners through the process of like, I don't want to call it certification. I mean, if we have to put a word to it, but like supporting practitioners through this space of like who they have to become to really get to a space of letting go, which is going to require me to let go. But, you know, I always find this interesting balance. Like I'm helping people in my mentorship leave their 9 to 5 or their career, stop trading time for money. And then I'm running a business where I'm paying people time for money.
Right. You're like, right.
I'm like, but you guys, like, you just stay right there. I like, that's a good dynamic for you. Like, don't grow too much because. So it's like been a really interesting dynamic because it's, called a lot of different parts of me because I also have a practice where I'm like, if it doesn't feel right here anymore, like it's time to move on. Like I'll still support you through where you need to go and grow. But yeah, there is definitely like this little glass ceiling that I'm just sitting at looking like, but can we maybe just like, but do we have to break through it or can we just like etherically transcend through it,
Pam? All right. Let's give it a go, right? Can you?
No, probably not.
Probably not. And it's so funny because every time I've busted through a ceiling like that, I've realized like it blows my mind every single time because to actually hold the energy to hold we hold the ceiling. Nobody's holding it above our head.
Totally.
We hold the ceiling above our head. So every time I've like, so you can think of like a vision of yourself, you're actually holding the ceiling. It's freaking heavy, right? It takes a lot of energy to actually hold our limitation.
Totally. It is. It's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
And it's the only thing that's on our mind, really. Like how long has it's been like 4 months of me sitting here like I need to leave acupuncture, I need to leave acupuncture, I need to leave acupuncture. And it's like, oh shit, I got a tax bill. Oh shit, no, I'll wait until that. But it's like
I'll wait until that.
How much, I keep coming to like how much can I trust what's on the other side? How much can I trust that the energy that frees up will just like liberate me to create? And I know it will, but it's a great question.
It needs to trust you because it's like even in this transition the past few months, like the past couple of months, my schedule's been really changing. Not what I would think was comfortable, but what is probably what I need. Because my entire career, 20 years, I've always had like a full schedule, wait list, blah, 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 blah.
Totally.
Like you got to wait some time to get in. And right now in this transition, you can get in this week.
Thank God. I appreciate that. I need Pam
like right now, which is like interesting to me because I've never had that before in my career.
No, me neither. It's the same piece that's holding me where I am. I'm like, and I know that there's that transition period.
Yeah.
And I'm just my humans clinging to like, but I know I can still feel this.
It's so funny. But if I even think about my actual belief is understanding that people need you when they need you. Like if it's in the field right now, that I'm like, okay, so I love the fact that I can service my clients when they're actually moving through something that they want me to observe and help them with, not 4 weeks later. So I actually really like that, but my security is challenged.
But what a mind fuck. Yeah.
Yes.
It's such a mind fuck.
And so there's like nervousness of like my own security, my own finances, my own goals for my future and all the things that are like challenged. I'm having to be sitting right now in a comfortable way. Also very thrilled that I've got some time. Also very thrilled that I have time to create things like more energy into my new offerings because I'm not like working like crazy. And so I know that I'm not meant to be in the clinic as much as I have been.
Totally.
So of course the universe is going to provide me a little more space so I can start creating the energy to put into something new.
I know, but
but you still have to know that it's still going to be fearful. You're still going to be uncomfortable. It's still going to suck. But it's like,
there's like
oh, sorry. I was gonna say, like,
no,
I think that my goal, I said to my friend probably 4 years ago, I said to her, I remember thinking my old office before where I'm currently at. Even then, I said to her, I am not going to renew my license next year. I did for another 4 years.
I told all my staff I was leaving in like February, literally.
And then so I was like, what the heck is happening? Like I keep saying this. I'm like, this year, because I knew it was going to come. I could have the farsightedness to understand it was going to happen. But I understood that it wasn't time yet. Like it truly actually wasn't, because when it was time, I got that download energy again. It wasn't my mind that said I need to do this. I got the same thing when I got the RMT download, this big, huge energy that came through me. It was last August that I got this. I was just literally in treatment. And out of nowhere, I just got this massive download and I heard from something etheric, you're not renewing this year.
Oof.
And that's what actually made me pull the plug. It wasn't because I finally got convinced. I finally had enough willpower. I finally landed on a thought that, was strong enough. It wasn't any of that. I was deeply terrified. I was like, really? This year? And the voice is like, yes, this year you're not renewing. And so leading up to the end of the year, I was terrified and I was like, really? Can we negotiate this? No.
Oh. I can relate to this so deeply. I've done this in my like leaving a job and now.
And so it wasn't actually a place where I was in my own mind that I said, this is the year, this makes sense. It was downloaded. My spirit guides told me like, this is it. This is the time for you. And I have such a trust with that. It's never let me down, that like that booming etheric voice, that I don't actually create a lot of action until that happens. I might know it's going to happen eventually, but until that resounding, like now, like here's like, it's right now. When that happens, then it's like, okay, I will stuff all whatever you say. Yes. Like I'm in full surrender to that voice. Like come, hell and high water, I will say yes to that voice. It's like such a deep devotion for me. And so even if I'm going to be in a bit of a struggle, so even now that I'm in a bit of a fear part of my career, I'm ultimately, even though it's scary, okay with it because I know that I trust that voice, that it has my best interest at heart.
Totally.
If I listen to my brain last year, not this booming voice, I might be a little bit more scared right now.
That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for speaking to that. I feel like I needed to hear that to have the reminder. I was on a plane back from San Diego in February, I think. I don't know. Anyways, and I got like this crushing migraine and immediately super sick as I got on the plane to come back to Canada. And I was like in severe pain. I just went in the bathroom and started bawling, and I don't go to the bathroom in the airplane.
Ew.
And then on a full plane, I had an exit row, but I had the whole row to myself. It was the only empty plane seats in the plane. So I was like, clearly it's here for me. I just laid down and cried the whole flight back to Canada. I was in so much pain and I was like, what's happened? Like, what? And it's just like, as soon as I said, I was like, if I give up acupuncture, like, is that it? Is that what you're asking me for right now? And by the time I landed, like I was sneezing. People around me were like disgusted by me. The one lady kept staring at me and I'm like, you're eating your sour candies and you're worried about getting sick from me. Like, go fuck yourself.
Literally.
But I was just like in this whole death process, just like it was horrendous. And as soon as I surrendered and I just like, there was so much mental pressure and just like pressure in the body, it was gone. Like fever, chills, throwing up, all the things, migraine. I landed in Calgary, no pain. After I just like let it go, I was like, I'll give it up. Okay,
Wow.
if this is it. So then I came back and was like so clear. I'm like, yep, this is what has to happen. This is what I'm doing. Told my staff the next day to start telling my clients. And it felt really good. And then I got my tax bill and I was like, fuck.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I was like, oh, well, I'll just do this for like 6 more months or whatever. Like, it actually feels okay. It was like this slow slide back. But now it's just like Reese is sitting here staring at me.
Or was it an actual, was that guided to say, okay, yeah, you can take 6 months? Or do you think it was a test to say, hey, do you really try?
Oh, yeah, no, it's like there's no 6 months.
Yeah.
Every time I went back once, got evacuated, went back the next time. My dog got sick and had to leave after a day. Like there's not even like a financial exchange anymore for going up there. Like the universe is like, oh, no. You idiot! Like just stop. Yeah, so it is happening, but my fixed energy is definitely gripping to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. So I'm curious. It's just like I randomly wrote this down on like with all of these tools that you've cultivated, that you're doing, that you're bringing out in the world, using in your sessions. Is there any part of you that like I know for myself, this is where I'm at of like, what do I actually want to do? What's the bigger picture? Like, I want other people to have access to this, like what I've created, but like, it's not what I've created. It's just like what's come through me and where I can just like laser focus and help people shift super quickly in their practice. Have you ever like considered teaching, facilitating, like creating practitioners that do what you do?
Yeah, I have deeply.
Cool.
I actually even already call it like my kind of branding is wild and wise. I actually have one statement that says wild and wise wisdom. I'm waiting, and it says coming soon. It says coming soon for a while. But I really truly like so my line 6 for even or gene key, and the first sphere is like a teacher's line. Like my life's purpose is actually in the line of a teacher.
Oh, is that no? Because you have this
gene keys. So I'm a 6'2". So you as well. You're line 6. So then, if it's a 6'2", then we both have for our life's work. We both have the line of a teacher.
So what's your life's work key?
18. So 18, the one I made you contemplate.
The one you made me go sit in for 2 days.
Yeah. So it comes out of shadow judgment into what is it now? Perfection is the city. Integrity.
Integrity.
Integrity. That was not my life.
Yeah.
My life story. That's right.
Oh, that's perfect. I love that.
And so I've really deeply thought about that. I was considering working at the massage school for a long time. They vetted me quite a few times and I kept saying no. But I would love to mentor this. I would love to do workshops and to do teachings and to do, actual some sort of training module in this, because like you said before, I want to even say that because we have the foundation of our registered schooling and like that profession, there's so much. I'm not leaving it because I undervalue it. I value it so much. and it gave me the
Absolutely.
foundation I needed. And I'm just ready to grow to something different now. But I see so many practitioners that are doing the healing arts that don't have that foundation. And I see that there is like a place of deep learning that could be provided. Like there is so much about like communication or
Yeah.
clinical work or how to intake someone or even ethical things or whatever it is that people are not trained
Raping people. Just
in.
like it's like
So
the
many things.
simplest. It's so interesting to me to observe. But then yeah, it's like, you know, I bring in a Reiki practitioner or whoever, and you witness and you're like, yeah, but why would you know all of this in a 2-day
They
training,
don't.
you know?
There's no training in it. So like, I've had this idea and I've been talking about it for probably 2 or 3 years where I'm like, I want to bring in that type of foundation for these like really talented, energetic practitioners so that they have that foundation also. And then they can nurture their whatever their modality is in a deeper, more professional kind of a way,
Beautiful.
but
Yeah,
still
I
not
love
be in
that.
a box, you know?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's like the best of all worlds because they don't need to learn our foundations. They don't need, like, there's nothing, you know, they can just learn it and own it. And people, that's what people are always like, how do you know what you know? Or like, what makes you different? I can tell there's just something different about you. And it's like, it's bringing all of that together. But I agree. It's like without my training in acupuncture,
Mm.
and it's not that it taught me all of the ethics. Like my school was sometimes questionable, but it taught me either way. It taught me. It's like it either taught me how not to do things or how to do things. It's just like another layer of experience
Yeah.
in there. Well, that makes me super excited because like even as I've been like creating my own thing, I'm like, I want guest people who can come. Oh, I want Pam. I want Pam at my retreats. I want Pam
Literally.
in my teachings. I want her in my school community. Like,
I mean, I think that's one of my. I think if I think about my most ideal future, it'd be exactly that. I want to do my own thing, but I also want to be in like collaborations with people. I want to pop in here and there and just
yeah,
like do these little collaborations and small group kind of. I don't know. I just love that. I love trying
I
to
do
like
too.
popcorn myself everywhere. I think that is so fun.
I think it's really like there's a lot of potency in that as I've like shifted finally into my 6-2 phase 2 of just like knowing that we're good at just like going in and like adding these, like it seems simple to us, but just being like boom, 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 boom. Okay, I got to go back to the mountain now, but you just sit with that and come back to me when
Yeah.
there's more to navigate, or you meet a new layer. Like, you know, you will go and you go and experience that in your sessions and then come back. Yeah, it's so fun.
It's so fun. It's so fun. It's just fun to be able to have the time and space to play now with these things. Like if I'm not stuck in that box anymore, now I can be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do containers. Oh, I'm going to do this retreat. Oh, I'm going to go collaborate with
Totally.
this person. I am going to go speak at this event. Oh,
Yeah.
I am going to start my own podcast, which I did.
Yes.
So like it's so fun where you get all this like time of creativity. So when you bust through the glass ceiling that no longer serves you, there is more energy to all of a sudden to serve so many more projects that I didn't have, like I literally did not have the energy for before.
Yeah. It's like, and I'm at that. I mean, I do have space in my life right now, but you don't know how much. Like, I had a client before they came into private mentorship with me be like, I'm not excited. Like, I come home and I'm so drained. I can't work on this project this business that I want to bring to life. And I was like, well, then it's just not the right business because you'll fucking find the energy.
Yes.
But also, yes, like with kids and all these things, you do need to make space in your life. I don't care, but I don't care if it's like 30 minutes. Like, how are we activating that actual spark in you, not like the I should be doing this makes sense. It's like
Mhm.
we need to be able to, if we can't activate creativity in our life, like your business is going to be boring as fuck.
Let's just get real.
let's just let's just throw
You
it out
want to be
there.
boring as fuck, or you want to have like exciting, thrilling, on the edge of your seat type of life?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for you and your clients,
Yes.
don't be boring as fuck.
Don't be boring as fuck.
No, and
Okay,
don't try to do
that's
it
the
how other
title of
people
the podcast.
do. Yes. All right, anything else you want to throw out there before we wrap this up?
I just want to say to people like the follow your heart, like honestly, that it truly is like, even if it's not, I'm not saying big leaps, like even if it's like tiny little toe step forward, like, you know, toe
Mm-hmm.
steps kind of that inch your way towards like that North Star that you have, that carrot that's kind of dangling in front of you. Like just do that as little as you, as slow as you need to, or as fast as you need to. It all depends on your nervous system. But as long as
Yeah.
you're taking like movement towards that, you're doing okay. And the more you step forward into that path, your nervous system will get used to it. You'll take bigger leaps and bounds towards that. Just be mindful, like on your own nervous system. Yes, it's
Yeah.
with me, like 10 years of BodyTalk to get to that place of actually quitting my license or, not letting my license expire. That doesn't mean that's going to take 10 years for you. Maybe your nervous system is a bit more refined than mine and it'll like be
Totally.
faster. We're in a different time as well. So again, we're talking about like coming out of this construct of time, not thinking about it took her, she was this age when she started, she took her this much time to do it. We're actually kind of evolving out of that. Just noticing your pace is governed by your own nervous system. So if like to really honor that, and if you need help with your nervous system, and get help with your nervous system.
Totally. And that's where I would say, like, find your people, find the right people that are doing the nervous system work. People like Pam, like I don't know if I would have come to you even a year ago if I would have gotten the same things that I've gotten out of it, because I have done a year of work of like unraveling my nervous system, sitting with everything that was like sitting underneath there, things that I didn't know had happened, things, and just like letting it all rise so that my nervous system could hold more. So then it's like you come into a session with you and you take people in like 10 different places in an hour and you're like, hey, that was the big thing. Now I just feel something here and then here and then here. Let's clean it all up. But that does take capacity from the nervous system. And I'm like, you're attuned to that when you're taking people there, I'm sure. But find those people. So find Pam or find the practitioners that are going to have that awareness and have done that for themselves, because there's people out there bypassing that or thinking they can bypass it. Or like the first time I hired my like business coach, I didn't have the nervous system. I didn't have the bandwidth to go where she saw that I could go. Therefore, I didn't go. Like I had moments, I got there and then I backed out because I couldn't hold it. So don't buy into the people that are selling you something. Like if it doesn't, I mean, that's where it's like, go back into the body and it has to feel correct for you, because you can't bypass that nervous system piece. And like, just
you can't, that's it. Like integration, embodiment can't happen unless your nervous system is open enough for that to happen. There's no point in doing all the work and then not letting it be embodied.
Yeah. Mic drop.
Just, that's it.
That's it. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm going to drop all of Pam's information below in the podcast episode so you can check her out. I highly recommend booking a session with her and just getting to witness her energy. And thanks so much for being here.
Oh, my honor. Seriously, Krystal, thank you so much. I just like love spending time with you and talking with you. And I can't wait until like we're actually in like physical
we meet in the 3D.
And give you a big hug.
I know. We're just doing our etheric work first, right?
Yeah, totally.
All right. Thanks again, and we'll talk soon. Thanks for joining us today. That is it. Be courageous, be bold, let anyone down but yourself along the way as you confidently activate or trigger the correct players in your pinball game. And with an open and defined heart, I encourage you to go forward with curiosity and create the depth and satisfaction in the entirety of your life, the entirety of your career, the entirety of the relationships that your soul came here craving, seeking, destined to create. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd love it if you left a review below. You can reach me at thekrystaleffect.com or on Instagram, the.krystal.effect. We'll leave that below.